Good morning, students. Welcome to Chanakya Academy online classes, Standard 10th, Subject Science. Yes, so yesterday we saw about the reflex arc. Today's topic is about human brains. So let's start the topic. Is reflex action the only function of spinal cord? Obviously not. Since we know that we are thinking beings, okay, that humans, we know that we think a lot. So, not only spinal cord, along with spinal cord, we have brain, which is the main area where the thinking process is taking place. So let's continue. Spinal cord is made up of nerves which supply information to think about. Thinking involves more complex mechanism and neutral connections. Okay, that means a mechanism is there, and that mechanism is not simple. It is a very complex mechanism. And in that mechanism we have nerves connections, also neural connections are there. So continuously through these nerves all the information are transferred. Okay, these are concentrated in the brain, which is the main coordinating center of the body. The brain and spinal cord constitute the central nervous system. Okay, so if we talk about central nervous system, okay, that I have explained you in the reflex arc, that we have central nervous system. The sensory nerves and motor nerves, they are bringing the message and then they are carrying the message. So it is done in spinal cord. Okay, so we discussed that thing. Now before discussing, let me show you what exactly they are talking about. Okay, yes, I've made a chart over here which shows about the types of nervous system. See, all this thing is given in a paragraph which I will read and explain you, but I want to know you first that they are talking about nervous system. It is basically of two types. Okay, CNS and PNS, that is the central nervous system, and your peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system, that is your CNS, it constitutes, or you can say it is made up of two things, brain and spinal cord. Okay, so central nervous system, okay, that is present at the center. So at the central of your nervous system, what is present? A brain. After brain, that is below downward, you will have the spinal cord. Okay, so a brain, and then you will have a long spinal cord that is present in your vertebral column. Okay, so you will have the vertebrae, and inside that vertebrae you will have spinal cord. So central nervous system is clear. Now come to the peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system are basically the nerves. Okay, periphery, that means it will go towards the periphery area. Okay, center, that is your brain and spinal cord. From brain and spinal cord, different nerves will come out. Okay, and that nerves we will call as peripheral nervous system. Okay, so two type of peripheral nervous system are there, cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Okay, cranial nerves and your spinal nerves. Cranial nerve will come from your brain. Okay, cranium. Okay, that is the skull area which you have, and that skull area protect our brain. Okay, so from the brain different nerves will come out and it will go towards the periphery of our body. Okay, so that is known as your cranial nerve. Central nerve. Okay, central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system consists of cranial nerve and spinal nerves. Brain will ultimately move towards the cranial nerves, and spinal cord will give rise to various spinal nerves. Okay, so we can say here that you have a brain and you have a spinal cord. Okay, so from here what is happening? Brain, different nerves will arise. This will be called as your cranial nerves, and from spinal also nerves will move towards periphery. Okay, and will be called as your spinal nerves. So I think so this two content is clear. Okay, so always remember that our nervous system, that is in humans, okay, it is divided into two, CNS and PNS. CNS consists of brain and spinal cord. PNS consists of cranial nerve and spinal nerves. Understood? Now let's see the content which is given in your book. Yes. See, the same thing they have given, brain and spinal cord, which you see constitute the central nervous system. Okay, they receive information from all parts of the body and integrate it. Okay, so whatever information, all the information will be sent towards the central nervous system. Okay, whichever area, hand, legs, okay, all the information coming from them will be sent towards the central nervous system, that is brain and spinal cord, and they will integrate it. That means they will read it, they will decode it, and then according to the information they will send the answer. Okay, yes, let's move further. We also think about our actions, writing, talking, moving a chair, clapping at the end of program are example of voluntary actions which are based on deciding what to do. So the brain has to send message to muscles. This is the second way in which nerve system communicates with the muscle. The communication between the central nervous system, okay, what they are talking about? They are talking about communication between the central nervous system and the other part of the body is facilitated by peripheral nervous system. Okay, see, very good example they have written over here, that when we are writing something, when we are talking something, or moving a chair, or clapping our hands when the function gets over, okay, all these are what? Muscles activity. Continuously the muscles movement is required. So we have a second way of nervous system communication, okay, and that is our peripheral nervous system. Okay, what is that? That is peripheral nervous system, and what it is consist of, I've told you, cranial nerves arising from the brain and spinal nerve arising from the spinal cord. So whenever you are listening this, just in your notebook go and make a table, the table which I have just shown you, so you will not be confused with this paragraph. So whenever you are seeing this video, please make the chart in your notebook. So it will be very clear for you to understand it and to learn it. Okay, so now peripheral nervous system consists of two things, cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Understood? Let's move further. The brain thus allow us to think and take action against on that thinking. Okay, so whatever we are thinking, the brain will give answer. Okay, suppose like if we want to sit on a chair, Okay, what we will do? We will adjust a chair and then we will sit. So the adjustment of chair, that what proportion, what area, how much we have to move the chair, all these calculation, okay, is done with our brain. Okay, so that is the calculation which is going continuously in our brain. Let's move further. As you will expect, this is accompanied through a complex design with different parts of the brain responsible for integrating different inputs and outputs. The brain has three major parts or regions, namely forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Okay, so with this we have finished one portion, that is nervous system. Now we are coming towards brain. Okay, so let's do about brain. Yes, so what they are talking is that the human brain. Okay, we saw the central nervous system. The central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord. Now the brain which we see, okay, this brain consists of basically three parts, or we can say the brain is divided into three parts: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Okay, brain is divided into three parts: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Forebrain will be your frontal part, midbrain will be middle, and hindbrain it is the posterior portion of your brain. Okay, so let's see what exactly are the functions of the forebrain, midbrain and your hindbrain. Yes. So, brain has three such major part or regions: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Now, let's see about forebrain. Forebrain is the main thinking part of the brain. Okay, so whatever thinking process we are doing, it is done in forebrain area. It has regions which receive sensory impulse from various receptors. Okay, sensory impulse, sensory nerves we have done. Okay, so whatever sensory impulse are there, all that will be received to forebrain. Separate areas of the forebrain are specialized for hearing, smell, sight and so on. There are separate area of association where this sensory information is interpreted by putting it together with information from other receptors as well as with information that is already stored in the brain. Okay, now see, the sentence which they are talking about is a very good thing. They are talking about memory. Okay, that is stored in the brain. So what is stored in the brain? Memory is stored in the brain. So that calculation part and information part, all is done by forebrain. See now what they are talking about, I'll explain you with very good example. That you open your eyes and you smell a rose. Okay, after smelling a rose, you know exactly how the smell of rose is. Okay, or how rose smells. Okay, now what you do, you close your eyes. Okay, after closing your eyes, you smell 10 different objects. Okay, from these 10 different objects, one will be the rose. So immediately you can identify, without seeing it, you can identify the smell of a rose. Why and how is it? It is because in our brain the smell of rose gets stored, the information gets stored in our brain. Okay, even if our eyes it is closed, we can recall and our brain can give the answer that this is the smell of a rose. Okay, hearing also. Okay, when you hear any sound, okay, suppose you are hearing any music, any song of your liking. Okay, you have seen that song 10 times, 20 times or 50 times. Okay, Now without seeing that song, if you are only hearing, you can recall the picturization. Okay, what are the steps, who are the actor actresses in that song, what are the steps going on, what are the areas, some 50 to 70% you can imagine without seeing the picture. Okay, so what is it? It is the memory. Okay, the information stored in brain. So your brain, okay, it is doing two important things. What it is doing? It is hearing, smelling, sighting. Okay, all the things your brain is doing. Along with that, it is storing the information so that after some times later you can interpret it. Okay, and how it is done? All is done with the help of receptors. So we will have receptors that will receive the information. After receiving the information, it will be stored in the brain. Understood? Yes, I'll again read this line. There are separate areas of association where the sensory information is interpreted by putting it together with information from other receptors as well as with information that is already stored in the brain. Okay, let's move further. Based on all this, a decision is made about how to respond, and the information is passed on to the motor areas which control the movement of voluntary muscles. For example, our leg muscles. Okay, this they are giving one more example. Like if when we see a stone, okay, in our path. Okay, when we are moving on a path and we saw a stone, what you will do? Okay, if the stone is large enough, we will change our path. So what it is doing? Because previously you must be told by your mother or father when you were small that you should change your path when a stone is on your way. Okay, so this information is stored in your memory. And what you will do when a stone is there? You will change your path. And how you will change your path? By movement, by moving your legs, by moving your leg muscles. Okay, so with this we are changing our path so that we doesn't get hurt. Okay, likewise if any pointed object is there on your path, again we will change the path. So all this is what? This is the information which is previously stored in our brain, and accordingly we are performing the functions. Yes, so each and everything which you see, which you memorize, all is stored in your forebrain. Okay, see, you are not seeing me, but when I just say that imagine an apple, you will quickly imagine an apple which is red in color, and you can imagine the shape of an apple. How can you imagine? Because you have seen an apple, and you have seen an apple which is a red in color. So whatever information we are getting, okay, all it's stored. Okay, all the letters, all the alphabets, alphabet, Z alphabet, B alphabet, M, N, P, all the N alphabet which I am just now saying, you can easily imagine and you can easily recall. So each and everything is stored in our forebrain. Understood? Yes, let's move further. However, certain sensations are distinct from seeing or hearing. For example, how do we know that we have enough eaten? The sensation of feeling full is because of the central association with hunger, which is in a separate part of the forebrain. Again, very good example they are showing. What they are telling is that, see, till now we have just said that whatever we are smelling, whatever we are seeing, or whatever we have heard, we can recall them and we can imagine them. But hunger is such a thing that we cannot see our stomach. But still, whenever we are eating, we can easily sense that our stomach is full or it is still empty. How we are doing? Because there is a connection or nerve supply from our stomach towards our brain, and continuously our stomach is communicating with our brain. Okay, and this sensation, this feeling tells us that do we need to eat more or we need to stop? Is our stomach full or is there a chance of filling it? So this is all is done in our forebrain. Okay, though we cannot see, though we cannot hear hunger, but still a connection, a sensation is there which is connecting this. Understood? Yes. Now let's move a little bit further. Let us look at the other use of word reflex that we have talked about in the introduction. Our mouth waters when we see food we like without our meaning to. Our heart beats without our thinking about it. In fact, we cannot control these actions easily by thinking about them even if we want to. Do we have to think about or remember to breathe or digest food? So, in between the simple reflex actions like change in the size of pupil and the thought out actions such as moving a chain, there is another set of muscle movement over which we do not have any thinking control. Okay, so there are many thinking process which we are exactly not thinking about it, but still there are some reflexes which automatically coming out. Okay, see, two examples they have given. One is the food one. Okay, that our mouth waters when we see a food. This is obvious, and this I think so everyone has noticed that whenever we are passing by any stall or restaurant, the smell of food automatically waters our mouth. Okay, and the heartbeats which is continuously beating, we doesn't know about it. Okay, the second and the third one is breathing. Okay, each and every second we are not telling our brain to breathe, it is automatically done. Okay, the beating of heart, the breathing process, the digestion of food, all this process, it's not in our control, but still this functions are being done with the help of nervous system. So what we have, okay, in between the simple reflex action like change in the size of pupil, okay, and the thought of our actions such as moving a chair, there is another set of muscles movement. Okay, one more set is there, one more thing is there which causes muscle movement over which we do not have any thinking control. So these things are moving continuously, there is a muscles movement which is doing continuously, but we are not thinking. Okay, you know that when we see an object, when we want to zoom an object, the change in pupil occurs. Okay, and this we are not doing forcefully, this is done automatically. Okay, so these actions, okay, many of these involuntary actions are controlled by midbrain and hindbrain. So here midbrain and hindbrain are doing this involuntary actions, okay, which are continuously done, but it is not in our control. Okay, all these involuntary actions include blood pressure, salivation, okay, the saliva which is coming, okay, continuously the mouth gets water. It is not we are doing, it is involuntary, it is not in our hand. Even if we want to stop saliva, we cannot stop. Even the food is near or far from us, we see the food, automatically our mouth waters, okay, vomiting, all are controlled by medulla in the hindbrain. Okay, think about activities like walking in a straight line, riding a bicycle, piercing up a pencil, okay, picking up a pencil. These are possible due to a part of hindbrain, okay, called as cerebellum. Cerebellum is present in hindbrain. It is responsible for precision of voluntary action and maintaining the posture and balance of the body. Okay, so whenever we are sitting, whenever we are walking, okay, the balance of our body is always there. We do not fall when we are walking, when we are sitting. So all these is maintained and functioned by hindbrain, and specifically it is done by our cerebellum. Imagine what would happen if each of these events fails to take place if we were not thinking about it. Okay, so the posture which you are taking when you are sitting on chair or on ground, we have a posture. Okay, when we are walking or when we are running, our body is balanced, we do not fall. So all this is maintained by voluntary actions. Okay, and this is basically done by cerebellum. So with this I'll just end today's lecture. Tomorrow we'll just move further and see about human brain. We'll see exactly how human brains looks like, and we'll see the different parts of human brain. Okay, we'll see where the forebrain is, where the midbrain is, and where the hindbrain is. So tomorrow we'll finish with this human brain along with the diagram. Understood? So with this I end today's lecture. Thank you and have a nice day.